Yeah, SmackDown reached the arbitrary 1200th episode on Friday in Montreal in the province of Quebec. And so at the top of the show, McAfee was jabbering with Michael Cole and said, I was 11 years old when you and Jim Cornette called that momentous show. And of course, if you looked at Michael Cole, he had to dip his head a little. Looks
He
like
popped for me. He popped
popped.
for me.
He broke.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Michael and I have never had a crossword, and I enjoyed him as a person, and it wasn't hard to work with him. It's maybe a little bit harder than it is now because he was brand fucking new then. And every once in a while you get the deer in the headlights thing, like, what do we do now? Because he'd never done it before. But no, I had fun with Michael. But that was Pat McAfee doesn't have chicken lips now. Pat's our boy. I won't bestow chicken lips upon him. But yeah, it was the 1200th program, as you mentioned, and Pat was, mentioning that he was 11 years old. That makes me feel, well, I was only 24 back then, maybe, give or take of 10 years or so. But anyway, it was April 29th, 1999, and Michael Cole and I did the pilot for the very first SmackDown episode, which was the pilot for the ongoing series that debuted that fall for the UPN network back then. And that was a big deal because at that time, since the NBC deal, the last NBC deal they had, and then they had one or two maybe specials on Fox a few years before, but they hadn't been on any kind of network TV, the WWE. That was 1999. So what had it been? 5, 6, 7 years at least, I think. And do you remember off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but I'll do some digging.
See if you can Google that. Yes. But it was a big deal to him in time internally in the studio and in the office because do they still have the UPN net? Maybe you ought to Google that first. Is the UPN network still even around?
Well, it's back a while ago, UPN and the WB merged to become the CW.
And I should have remembered that because our station in Louisville here with Ohio Valley Wrestling was the WB. And they were actually the strongest signal in town at one point. They put up a brand new transmitter and they had to gear the power back. It was supposed to be channel 34 Smoky Mountain Wrestling this is a side trip here while you're Googling things. Smoky Mountain Wrestling was on a little station in Campbellsville, Kentucky, channel 34. And they ran it out of a mobile home. And suddenly, when Louisville got a new TV station, I find out that it's the channel 34 from down here in Campbellsville, but they've got an open license in Louisville and were able to make the switch. And they started channel 7 here in Louisville, WBKI. And the first, it was 7 on cable, but it was still channel 34 over the air. But the first antenna, the transmitter that they put up was so powerful that people were picking it up on like 33, 34, 35, and we have a channel 32, so it was gumming shit up. They had to cut their power back. But anyway, I don't know why I mentioned, we were a WB affiliate at the same year. I believe it was 98 or 99. Networks popped up from the UPN, United Paramount Network, and WB, which was Warner Brothers. And so there were more network choices. And that was a big deal with the office at the time. They were trying to get back on network TV, broadcast affiliates in all the locations, which I've always said is more important for drawing live event crowds to wrestling, your local broadcast television, than cable.
Right.
But anyway, and by the way, find out the network information?
Yeah, looking up here on, God help us, Wikipedia. So, let's see. There was a gap. The last Saturday night's main event, number 31, aired on Fox October 27th, 1992. And then there was a gap of almost 14 years. The next one aired on NBC on March 18th, 2006.
Okay, so basically UPN was the network debut of some network for the first time in 7 years. And then they were
Right.
looking forward to it, but here's the deal. It was a pilot episode. They wanted to make sure that it was polished and good and etc. So it wasn't a live broadcast. They taped it. And then Michael Cole and I did voiceovers at the studio, as we often did with syndicated TV or episodes of Raw that weren't live back in those days or whatever. So we voiced it over. And the reason that it was Michael Cole and myself, Michael had been doing syndication, I think, at that point. That was still a thing. And, it was the various ancillary shows. JR and Lawler were the Raw team. And that was USA Network, and this was going to be another network. And if they picked it up, they didn't want to have the same announce team. And Michael Cole was their next, play-by-play guy that they wanted to push behind JR, because, as we've mentioned, Kevin Dunn liked Michael Cole. He had a background in real news, even though Kevin Kelly was more advanced as a wrestling broadcaster. So they're grooming Michael, and honestly, Kevin Dunn wasn't particularly a fan of it, but otherwise than Lawler in the company at that point in time, they had nobody else doing color that was ready to do a network pilot. So I was the guy. And that's what Michael Cole was sitting there at one time. We were taking one of the breaks, and he said, because I already knew at that point, everybody knew I was coming to Louisville to work with OVW. This was the end of April of 99, and that we had settled on that April, May, June, because I came here July 1st, so 3 months in advance. So the first of that month, they knew I was moving. And Michael Cole says, well, what are you going to do if they, pick us up in September or whatever? I said, well, you're going to be coming to Louisville every week, I guess, is the only way I can figure this, because I'm going. I don't know about you. But anyway, so apparently, as you mentioned at the top of this drawn-out segment, by mentioning my name, I trended on Twitter again. When Pat McAfee mentioned my name, they talked about him. And so I thank everybody who was happy to hear my name. But goddamn, that's the thing Stace was saying the other day. Because, on Friday night, they turn on Pat McAfee, and then just last week, we turn on Svengoolie, and there I'm on Svengoolie or whatever it was 2 weeks ago. She said, goddamn, I can't get away from you. Every time I just turn on a regular television show or something, they're talking about you. I said, I'm popular. I'm Trendy McTrenderson.
Yes, indeed.
But anyway, so talking about the 1200th episode of SmackDown and what they did on it, I got Ronda Rousey, and would it be more possible to cool someone that was hot off if they just threw her in an ice bath or did that ice bucket challenge with her? And they keep putting her in these positions where not only does it require her to be an accomplished public speaker, an orator, a thespian, if you will, but also there's the whole attraction of Ronda Rousey was that she was real. She was legitimate, right? She was the real deal in the UFC. She was the judo champion. She was the baddest girl on the planet. So they not only bring her in here, and they've been making her speak and try to get across this, whatever they've got her doing, that she ain't got her heart in it, or she can't do it, or whatever. Everybody's noticed she seems blah these days. But have you ever seen an arrest phony? Lou, how many times have you been arrested in your life? Be honest with the people.
Well, see, none that I care to discuss.
What? None? That you care to discuss, I guess, was the qualifier. But certainly you've seen, let's put it this way, you've seen people be arrested.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. See, now you're coming around. Was this the phoniest looking arrest you've ever seen in your life?
Boy, yeah, even when it comes to the artifice and stagecraft of past law enforcement actions on WWE programming, Yeah, this was not good. The so-called cops were, no, they were not very convincing.
If you didn't see SmackDown, we're running off and leaving the folks. Let me give a brief synopsis. Ronda Rousey comes out even though she's been suspended, and Adam Pearce comes out with security and begs her to leave the premises. And Ronda Rousey, in about as threatening a way as I would talk to the mailman who I actually like, don't make me choose violence. And then security walks down to the ring awkwardly, two at a time. There's four of them. Two get in, and it's obvious that not only are they fake security, they've never done this before. They're scared to death. They don't know what to do. They just walk over and stand in a stagey way, and one tries to grab Ronda's arm, and Ronda does a few half-hearted kicks and a couple of judo throws, and the two first security guys bail out. And, of course, any security guy, once you're taken down by the perpetrator, you slide out and let the other security guys come in and handle it. Because once you've taken one bump, you're disqualified, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's in Security Academy.
That's the first
role is self-preservation.
If they take you down once, you got to slide out and let the rest of the guys fight to fight. So the first two slide out, and the second two come up on the apron, and one gets a knee lift, and then the other one gets in and gets a judo throw, and then she arm bars that guy, and I wish that the wrestlers had facials like this, because he really sold it, but the problem is it was even more flagrantly fakery that he was selling like that when he's a security, and he's tapping out. He's a security guy. He's trying to arrest somebody or detain somebody. He's tapping. So, oh, God damn it. So then Adam Pearce brings out two fake uniformed police, a man and a woman. Now, I might have bought that the woman was a real cop, because she looked like one of those fucking, Maud from New Jersey type of cops, like an Italian or whatever. But the guy looked like he was 13 years old. And they're standing there so awkward looking, and they're trying to have stone face. And I'm obviously not breaking any news here or telling anybody any secrets. I've been arrested a time or two. And none of the cops, whether they didn't want to arrest me, but they were doing their duty, and there was a few of those at the arenas where we got a complaint, so we got to do it. Yeah, okay. Or whether they were really anxious to either one, they don't act like this. And so then they stare the baddest woman on the planet, Ronda Rousey, down. The woman is 5'4", and the man's, like I said, he'd get carted to buy bubble gum, and they stare her down, and she puts her wrists out and allows herself to be handcuffed, and then walked out. And then the camera followed. Now, that was flat as a plate full of piss in the arena, by the way. People just went, what? And they just walked out. But the camera in the back following them to the out back of the arena, and there's Ronda Rousey trash talking them and bitching the whole way. And they're just still doing the stone face and what they believe to be the perp walk. Have none of these people ever been arrested? I refuse to believe that none of the people involved in the setup, or maybe that's why they need a few more of us old-time wrestling people that have been to the Crossbar Hotel, done some boarding with the warden, lived on the bounty of the county to set these things up. Because this is not a thing that's new in wrestling. I mean, they're in the old days, back in the pioneer days, 30s, 40s, whatever, actually, the cops used to arrest for real some of the wrestlers that either started a riot or engaged in what they believed to be disorderly conduct. You can go back and check the old newspaper files. In some cases, the cops weren't smart back then. A lot of people weren't smart in the 30s and 40s to the wrestling business. And if they saw the heel do something, they took it as seriously. And in some cases, they were arrested. which the promoter then go and bail the guy out and consider it great publicity. And then as the territories formed, sometimes that was worked, what used to happen for real, because the territory promoters, the local guys, they started knowing people that were on the police forces. And there's rules for, I've done some of these things with various law enforcement personnel, and there's different rules for what they can and can't do in uniform, out of uniform, depending on what law enforcement branch they're in. You've got city police, county police, sheriff's deputies, constables, game wardens, all that type of shit. And some of the boys have also doubled as cops. And in East Tennessee, Mongolian Stomper transferred prisoners for years for the police department there and the local prison system. And one of the guys that was friends with Buddy Landell, Kim Birchfield, ran for sheriff up in Johnson City and did an angle with us one time where I think he arrested Buddy and took him to jail. But the point is, all you have to do if you're going to do an arrest, and it's not, these arrests are not even as legitimate looking and as believable or as convincing as the fake ones on dramatic television shows. Get a goddamn technical advisor. Some wrestler on that roster has a good friend or some family member or somebody he knows in law enforcement. I can't believe we've gotten that far away from that. All the boys used to know a cop. That's why we had Dean Hill here in Louisville. The OVW announcer was retired from the Louisville Police Force after 25 years, was a member of the SWAT team at one time, bodyguarded people after. He knew what the fuck. He arrested somebody in OVW for us, or had him arrested one time. The point is, you get somebody real, and it's a national television program. Fly them the fuck in to wherever. One legitimate cop that's with it, that's smart to the business, and obviously not a mark, but smart to the business, and have them either pick extras that look like that they would actually be on some type of force,
right,
and teach them how to act that way, and then walk through a legitimate arrest with them. And if Rhonda's got a here that once they make it too showbiz, because once she's done the judo throw and gotten a fucking kimura on somebody, that's when she needs to get swarmed, and then it looks real. You don't have any real security personnel or especially any real uniformed, legitimate police officers taking bumps over and over for anybody. Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, whatever the fuck, it just don't happen that way. They don't allow themselves to be opened up like that. If you had one good bump-taking security guard that potentially might be 45 years old, so they didn't look like the indie goddamn wrestling school of the moment, and he puts his hands on her in a legitimate way, and she does a legitimate throw, and the other one goes, I've seen Dennis Condrey do this, actually to a cop. When the cops turned on us in Saginaw, Michigan, after we jumped on a mark that kicked Bobby, Dennis was on the mark, and one of the cops tried to fucking grab him and put him in a fucking hammerlock. And he blocked the fucking hammerlock on his right arm with his left arm behind his back to his wrist. I'm leaning over in the microphone now, actually doing this in my home. And fucking came back out around, and the cop got fucking hot. But the point is, one judo throw, one of them grabs her arm, and she fucking locks on a double wrist lock real quick, and everybody else is going to swarm her. And that's the way it's going to, and that would look legitimate. And then when she's down and they say, stop resisting, then she can get the fire in her fucking eyes, and she can look up at Pierce, whoever's instigated this, and she can make the goddamn comment that you can take me out now, but you can't take me out for good. I'll be back.
Right.
Fucking, and then drag her out. You know how they used to carry the fans out of the Louisville Gardens when they'd hit the ring? One cop would put them in a full Nelson, and the other cop would hook their fucking legs up like a wheelbarrow behind him, and they would carry that mother. His feet wouldn't touch the floor from the time they left the ring till the time they got in the back alley. That's the way. And if you're going to do something like that, don't just do fake television. Get it over.
Right. Yeah. It's, I think it's just, I don't know if the folks in creative or whomever are just, just kind of get lazy and fall into these tropes where they don't, okay, we're gonna do this, and I think, the fan base is conditioned now to be like, okay, here's where the indie talent comes in, or the wrestling school, here come Jacques Rougeau students in this case or something.
I'm not even going to malign any young wrestling school students. Some of those guys may be great workers, but the thing is, for fuck's sake, they don't look like police or security. They look like they're 12-year-old intimidated, scared. I know there's 40-year-old independent wrestling stars out there. Fly some of them in.
Right.
But these guys didn't look like they could throw out the baby's bathwater. So
yeah. And, when you mention knowing people who are cops, you got to think, I thought of at least one WWE alumnus, Rico Constantino.
Yeah. Rico could throw you out. He could throw anybody out. He's, that's the thing. It's not that hard.
Right. Yeah. And then the cops, in air quotes, take out Ronda Rousey, put her in the vehicle. And then, let's see, right before that, Rhonda put the button on the whole segment by looking at Adam Pearce and saying, "Nice haircut."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
that's what I'm saying when I'm going to jail. I'm going to fucking make a sarcastic, non-profane remark at the guy that pressed charges on me or whatever.
Right. Especially when he's smooth as a hard-boiled egg on top. So, okay.
Well, speaking of smooth as a hard-boiled egg, the next match was for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship Tournament, and I smoothly grabbed my remote and skipped right past this because it was Sonya Deville and Natalya against Toxic Attraction, old Gigi Allen and Jane Wayne Gacy, who have apparently replaced Lyons and Stark. But now we hear after this that Gigi Allen is injured, and so they're going to be replaced yet again. And I'm sorry, but the way I feel, if you've listened to any of our programs, Lou, the way I feel about the Toxic Attraction gimmick, it's a fake gimmick because they're selling it so hard in such stilted language, it can't be true. Nobody talks like that. They are actually saying about themselves, we, quote, live the seductive, sadistic rock star life. No, even if you do, somebody else is supposed to say that about you. It's fuck. And here they are, they're prancing down in the video, prancing down the street in these cool, young, hip locations. It's like a South Park parody video. Shitty-pa and Sopa. And besides, one of these is the tampon girl from the Indies that stuck the alleged used tampon in her opponent's mouth or whatever the fuck.
Right.
So I don't need to do any details. We're just hitting high points today on this program because we got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
But yeah, I can tell you as a result of Gigi Dolan's injury on the next SmackDown, their spot in the tournament, Toxic Attraction, is going to be decided by the winner of what they're calling a second chance fatal four-way. It's like, okay, more multi-person matches.
Oh, God.
And the winners will face the team of Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah, daughter of Rey Mysterio, in the next round.
Well, Bayley and her girls bought tickets in the front row, and at least they thought that might keep people's attention. But when Bayley gets back in the ring, we'll check back in with that.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn Sami Zayn was the pretty much almost the only life on this program. And imagine what it takes for me to say that. No, I remind you and the rest of the listeners that this guy is the guy that I could not talk out of to save my life or his career, being a masked, mute luchador that never spoke and never showed his face. And he's now the most entertaining, cunning linguist on SmackDown whenever Heyman's not around. And Zayn goes into Roman Reigns' locker room because Roman is summoned for him. And I didn't get to see SmackDown week 4 last whenever because it was preempted due to that big preemption across the country due to ball games. I was one of the victims of that. But apparently Sami and Jey Uso are having issues with each other. And as I'm sitting here watching this, I'm like, you know what? Now I understand, because I know I'm overly critical of everything in wrestling because I'm overly critical of everything in wrestling, and I got the right to be, since I can do most of this stuff better than they can. But Roman Reigns is so good and looks so good and is himself, plays himself. And Sami Zayn was so good verbally and is so weasel and has the inflection and the delivery that the material that they're doing is as phony as fuck. It's as phony as a football bat. But I was still enjoying it. It wasn't the bad delivery with the bad material that we usually get. And Sami is sucking up in the backhand or the passive aggressive way or whatever, and he's kind of putting Roman Reigns off to be mad at Jey Uso instead of him, and he kind of gets him to do it, and then he's celebrating behind Roman's back and the whole 9 yards. And then so then suddenly, as Jey Uso calls on Roman Reigns' phone, and Roman says, "Who answer that?" Because he's taking a piss, whatever he's doing. Sami answers it. There's trouble at the border. They won't be there. And I swear to God, that's the most believable thing they said all night, because they're in Canada. And it used to, whenever we do a Ring of Honor show in Toronto, you never knew who they were going to stop and detain and turn back, and your whole card would be fucked. And the first time we did a big sold-out show at that Ted Reeve Arena, we got in there. Who was it now? God damn it. It may have been Roderick Strong came in and said, "Oh, the Briscoes got stopped. They turned them away." I'm like, "Oh, God," he was ribbing me. But I was about to have a nervous breakdown. But anyway, trouble at the border. They won't be there. The Usos can't be there, but Sami is. So Roman sends Sami out to win the Intercontinental title and do his bidding tonight. And he asked Sami if he was still cool with that Owens. And he's, "Oh, yeah, we're great buds." Well, let him know I don't owe anybody anything ever. "Oh, well, I haven't talked to him in a while, but, if I see him, I'll make sure he knows, I couldn't talk this guy to taking the fucking mask off, that expressive face. I couldn't talk him into doing promos when the wrestling promotion that he worked for had been bought by a television company, and they already had a TV show on HDNet, but that wasn't big enough for him. But I've always said he could work, but he's goddamn entertaining as fuck. This was horseshit, phony material, but they were fun with it.
Yeah, and Sami Zayn was fortunate to be in Montreal. And in Montreal, Sami Zayn is more over than Schwartz's smoked meat on poutine. So, he's playing to the best crowd possible.
But I know, and the crowd did give him a great ovation when he came out here in a minute for the shit they put him in. But just the performance also, I got to give him credit on that one. And everybody says that I never liked those guys. They were pains in the fucking ass to deal with, but I give credit where credit is due. Speaking of credit, I will say this briefly and move on. They had a package on Gunther and Shaky Nakamura that I missed due to the preemption. And Gunther, again, is my favorite. I love him. He's the best wrestler in the world today at being himself. He does exactly what he should do, and he's perfect. Speaking of not perfect and what people should not do, Lou Kippelman?
Yes, sir.
At least they put the Duprees and the male models and Massey and Mansois and Menage all together with Hit Row in the same segment, because this was the most painful thing I've gone through since either my last root canal or when they took the final surgical staple out on the incision scar for my last hernia surgery.
Yeah, you could definitely, boy, you could probably put a mic in front of every bathroom in America and figure out that by the amount of flushes during that segment that people were not closely watching.
I actually had to flush while I was still watching it, to be quite honest with you. Okay,
well, you're a multitasker.
I do try to get things done. So Max, they've got poor L.A. Knight, Eli Drake, which I can't remember which name came in which order, but
right.
He's still Max Dupree, and they're still doing the male model thing with Massey and Mansois.
Right, and I thought Max was being phased out. So,
well,
and all of a sudden he's back.
I thought they were trying to save his career.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that Vince was mad at him and said, "Then fuck him, take it out because he didn't like it." But they said, "Well, just come on and try." I don't know, but again, everybody made a big deal out of Hit Row coming back, minus Swerve, who signed with AEW. But they got AJ, they got oh goddamn, B-Fab, and what's the other fella's name?
Top Dollar.
Top Dollar. So they got AJ, they got Top Dollar, and they got B-Fab back. And I've never seen any of these people wrestle, I don't believe. Maybe once back when they were there before. But Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, at least they interrupted the male model interview after about 30 seconds, hit Row's music. But old AJ, first of all, he better be able to work because he looks like a fat fucking auto mechanic. He just came out, I guess that's their gimmick. They dress in the appropriate cultural garb or whatever, but
right.
Suddenly they just get in the ring and they throw both the male models who we've never seen do anything physical under this persona. So we don't, are they top guys? Are they jokes? What are they supposed to be? So now we know they're jokes because Hit Row just goes in and grabs both these guys and just throws them out of the ring. And they don't try to come back. And the one guy, did you see the over the top rope bump? Nobody taught him how to take the bump over the top rope.
Ugh.
And it looked like he almost broke his back. He grabbed the top rope with both hands and cartwheeled over it, which is the first time I ever went over the top rope. That's what I did. And then they said, don't do that anymore. And then I cut down going over the top rope because I could never get it the right way. I stuck with the middle rope. But nevertheless, then suddenly, is this going to be what Hit Row does on TV every week? They don't wrestle. They launch into a musical performance with lighting and microphones and spotlights and a backing track that lasts forever. AJ grunts the same words over and over. I got the point that they're back.
All the way back.
All the way back. I wish they'd go all the way back out. If they're going to do that, B-Fab needs to be quiet. Did you see when AJ leaned into the camera and he babbled off, then they blew off some pyro? I know I don't like rap. I understand that, but I don't know if you're a rap meister, if you're a connoisseur of the rapping, but was this good rap? Is there such a thing as good rap? Was this good rap?
There is such a thing as good rap, and this was nowhere near it. By the way, slight correction. The other member of Hit Row is Ashante the Adonis.
Oh!
And because AJ is Top Dollar.
Oh, because he is.
Yes. But, yeah, as far as musical product, no. I was not buying it.
It went on forever. This was to music what Stephen Hawking is to Olympic pole vaulting. And I've heard people say that, well, this hit row, they look like stars. Explain to me how they look like stars. Maybe, if they're maybe in a still photo, they look like a rap group. They obviously can't rap. They can say a lot of words, but I don't know if this was either to the music or against the music or however, behind the music, however it's supposed to be related to the music. Right. I don't know. So
yeah, and I mean, doing live sound, live music in a, in such a large venue that I'm sure it would be very easy to get behind the beat or to have some sort of lag or delay. Yeah, so.
I think they got beat up, but I don't think they were behind it. I think they got beat up. So hopefully they won't do this anymore.
Sure.
But apparently this is their thing, so I bet they're going to do it a lot more. It was 45 minutes into the program, Lou, and at that point I was losing patience. And of course, by that point, that means that it's going on 9:00 Eastern time here in the castle. And, that means that I'm starting to get sleepy, and I'm thinking about a good night's sleep at that point.
Well,
certainly. You know how important a good night's sleep is, don't you?
Oh, you better believe it. That's, one of my favorite avocations.
As a matter of fact, it sounds like I've put you to sleep right now. And I'm sure I'll do the same thing for the folks before the show is over with. But folks, if you'd like to get a good night's sleep after watching Hit Row, if you're afraid you're going to have nightmares, fear not. Fear not, because if you go to sleep on a Helix sleep mattress, you will not have horrible nightmares, because they got a mattress for everybody, even people who have fever dreams and acid flashbacks overnight. They provide tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. They've got 14 unique mattresses. 14, I'll have you know, which is even more than 12, including a collection of luxury models, a mattress for big and tall sleepers, a mattress just for kids. You ought to see this thing. It's so cute. It's only 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. God damn, it's cuter than a speckled pup. But how do you know which Helix mattress works best for you and your body, Lou? And of course, your body. Lou, I've seen your body. My God, you're going to leave that body to science fiction after you die. How do you know that the mattress works for a body like that has things protruding from it in all shapes and directions? That's because you take the Helix Sleep Quiz. That's what you do, Lou.
I didn't know there'd be a quiz.
There's a quiz because it's easy. You know all the answers. You know all the answers on this quiz. You're going to get 100
I'm not so
every
sure.
time. Oh, no, you get 100 every time on this because it's all up to you. It's your choice. It's your taste. You go to helixsleep.com. and you take their 2-minute quiz on what kind of mattress you want based on how you sleep and what your preferences, your desires, your wants, your needs, your aspirations, and your dreams. And the folks at Helix Sleep, will deliver to your home a mattress that encapsulates all those qualities that you asked for in your individually selected mattress. And every Helix mattress has a hybrid design, which combines individually wrapped steel coils in the base with premium foam layers on top. You remember coils. That's what JR accused the AEW roster of clustering up like when they're waiting on dives. Well, now you can have coils in your brand new Helix Sleep mattress. And again, they've got the either 10 or 15-year warranty, depending on the model. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. And if you don't love it, you ungrateful bastards, they'll not only pick it up for you, but they'll give you your money back. And Brian Last has instructed me that while he's gone, I should not insinuate that people will then come to your home a few days later seeking retribution. So if anything does happen at your home, I didn't infer that at all. But if you don't want to take my word for it, go to GQ and Wired magazine. Helix has been awarded the #1 mattress by both magazines, and of course, Wired magazine, Tony Khan's favorite. And the Helix Sleep mattress is even recommended by multiple leading chiropractors,
I'm like, yes.
Chiropractors, and doctors of sleep medicine. I didn't know that there were doctors of sleep medicine. I knew there were doctors of thugonomics and doctors of style, but now the doctors of sleep medicine have decided that the Helix Sleep mattress is a go-to solution for improving your sleep. Lou, it's amazing.
You've sold me, man.
Well, you've already taken a nap. You've curled up. And I'll tell you something else, folks. Helix supports the military, the first responders, the teachers, and students by giving them a special discount on their website. And already, again, you can go to helixsleep.com/JCE, and they're offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Again, that's helixsleep.com/JCE. And so you're getting up to $200 off. You're getting free pillows. You're getting discounts if you're military, first responders, teachers, and students. You'd think since these are mattresses, they'd give ladies of the evening a discount also in their line of work. They got to go through a lot of these. As Stu Hart would say, whores. But nevertheless, you should never have to compromise on comfort. And Helix will not make you do that. They got the cooling technology that regulates your body temperature. They get all kinds of bells and whistles on these things. As I mentioned, purtier and cuter than a brand new speckled pup. Once again, up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners if you go to helixsleep.com/JCE. With Helix, better sleep starts now.
Well, Jim, speaking of sleep, we were soundly put to bed under the covers by the soporific sounds of Hit Row.
Ooh, good word. Soporific. I like that. Yeah.
So let's, what happened next on SmackDown?
What happened next on SmackDown? Well, Baron Von Corbin versus Sheamus versus Ricochet versus Mosh Pit Moss and Sami Zayn. And of course, Zayn comes out last. He's in Montreal, his hometown. A huge ovation. Honest to God, after that promo that he did earlier, I would have gone for a title shot in Montreal. But it was a 5-way match, and they always suck, and they didn't even put Zayn over. They put fucking Sheamus over because they're going to clash at the castle, and that's more important than getting the big ovation in Montreal, blah, blah, blah. I know that. But,
right.
Bleh.
Yeah. But at least they put together so that Sami got to be the wounded warrior. He was, had a messed up shoulder after taking white noise from Sheamus. And so, of course, like all good multi-person matches, Sami was gone for a good portion of the match, and then he came back.
But yeah, he came back.
And got involved somewhat in the finish. So they got him in the moments of note.
Can we please try to have matches involving person versus person instead of the 4 and 5 way? It's not a competition. It's goddamn demolition derby.
Up next on SmackDown was a video package featuring the new and improved and fearsome Viking Raiders.
They did a video of them, the Viking ceremony, the whole 9 yards. The video looked great. They're doing makeup. Those guys, I actually managed them once in a previous incarnation on an independent show. And I said, Jesus Christ, those guys can go. And their shit looked good. And they're big guys, but they can move around. But they've looked like a bunch of fucking morons. And when they were, the previous cartoon version of Vikings. Now, I guess, like I said, with this video, they're trying to make them look a little more adult, but they delivered lines here in this. Both guys, they had plenty of terminology and warriors and blah, 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 and that'd be great too. But we didn't get Mel Gibson and Braveheart here or whatever. We got two guys reading lines consisting with words that they don't use in their normal everyday life, and they were reading. I think they were reading it off cue card. And guys, if you're listening to this, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. If you're going to go with a cool Viking warrior realism behind this, that we would think that you say or do these things ever except to be on video, you're playing a part, which is a recurring theme in wrestling these days, and it's not good.
And next up is a non-title match, Liv Morgan against Shotzi.
Music entrance, and the crowd goes mild. And she's facing Shayna Baszler, and she doesn't look like she could whip a Girl Scout because she looks the same size as one. And she's going to have a match with Shotzi, but Shotzi was given a backstage promo before the match, and she didn't do a promo on the match. She did kind of an audition for a dramatic reading of something. So then they have the match, and Liv won, and Shayna hits the ring. She grabbed Liv, she cranked her arm to cocked and put the wrist down on the mat and leaned on it, and then they were motionless. And poor old Charles Robinson is the referee, Little H, and he's bigger than both these girls, and he's an adult man, and he's just having to stand there with Pete in hand and watch her do this. He's not even trying to pull the girl off. None of this was exciting. We found out at least Pierce didn't press charges, so Rhonda has been released. She didn't fucking come back. She got an early start and beat the traffic. Got to get back to Browsy Acres. All righty. Thank you for coming, Rhonda. At least she didn't have that annoying misdemeanor on her record. So the time had come. This was a main event segment because all of their main event talent pretty much doesn't wrestle regularly. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, blah, blah, blah. So here comes Roman. And he's got no Usos. They got stopped at the border. And he's got no Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns is there by himself. And I know he's a star. And he's the best thing on this program. But it was between 4 and 5 minutes from the start of his music to the time he got in the ring and said his first word. And that's another problem with this program, is everything takes forever. If everybody on the program, including the people that are coming back, is still going to do long, slow, boring, phony sounding shit, that's not really solving their problem. They need some spontaneity and some improv and some violence. Anyway, Roman's delivery, his voice, his look, his timing, everything is major league. And he's out there to make the point that he's the face of the company, not Drew McIntyre. And he did an excellent promo. He's got great facials and intensity. And then, of course, here comes Drew McIntyre. Anyway, Drew McIntyre's position, obviously, is that Roman Reigns doesn't deserve to be champion. And it's the Usos and Heyman that have propped him up. And Drew was fired up here as well. He did a good job, and he sees fear and concern in Roman Reigns' eyes and on his face, and he wants to fight. And they do. And Roman Reigns hits the Superman punch and turns around and does his roar and goes for the spear, and fucking Drew Claymore kicks him right in the face, and down he goes, and boom, and out we go. And that was it. So we're going to find out what happens between these two at Clash at the Castle next weekend.
Oh, get ready, Cardiff. To me, it was perfunctory. It was rote.
Another good word. Two more good words.
Yes. Dibbergor. Somebody stop me. Hit me with my thesaurus. Yeah, it just seems like... yeah.
I guess it's that there's no life to the WWE shows, whereas the AEW shows are so much of a clusterfuck all the time, and everybody's so reckless that it's like watching, the car wreck happen. You can't turn away, and well, I can turn away often on that. The other side, the cliques are forming, or somebody's going to come off the roof and land through a piece of furniture. Their innards are going to pop out. There's going to be something unprofessional, dangerous, concerning, silly, whatever to watch on the AEW shows and the WWE shows, besides, as I said, the Garganos and the banished NXT misfit toys. But their show's boring because they're not going to do anything unprofessional and stupid, and nobody's going to go into business for themselves, and nobody's going to get seriously injured right in front of our eyes. And the rest of the shit they're doing is phony. But that was SmackDown. And you know what needs SmackDown on the grill? Some great Omaha steaks. Folks, I'll tell you what, we're going to get to the meat of the matter right here, right now. No delay. Summer's in full swing. No backyard grill out is complete without a package from Omaha Steaks. And they got some new stuff going on now. There's a couple of different packages. The All-American Assortment has mouth-watering items from the butcher-cut filet mignons to the caramel apple tartlets and everything in between. And for a limited time, as a special gift to all of the cult of Cornette, when you go to omahasteaks.com and type JCE in the search bar, you get the All-American Assortment. You're going to get 12 Omaha Steaks burgers for free. 12 this time. They've never done this before. They've gone completely out of their minds. They're just crazy. 12 free burgers. You can fill up the whole grill just with the stuff they're going to send you for free. But if that doesn't tantalize and tickle your taste buds, folks, there's more cattle byproduct to choose from. You can go the build your own perfect menu option and just pick your favorite items out of the options provided. Create your own grilling adventure. My God, it'll be like a Lewis and Clark expedition in the backyard, and you won't even have to slay the daggum wildlife. And that package, the Build Your Own Perfect Menu, comes with, guess what? 12 free Omaha Steaks burgers. Again, you slap that cow meat on the grill, you're filling the whole thing up with what you're getting for free. Folks, go to omahasteaks.com. The keyword is JCE in the search bar, and you can fill your freezer with enough dead meat to keep your cookouts going strong all summer long. omahasteaks.com, keyword JCE, and your lips are going to smack your brains out.